Hey guys, this is Punker Mike from Puncture Progress and Reverend Aaron, and we are here with LaShe Rodriguez from Environment, California. How you doing, LaShe?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well,
Got
thank
it.
you
Thanks
for
for being
joining
here.
us.
And thank you for going to the Redlands for Progressive Change meeting and, putting a spur up my partner's butt on this issue. So
Well,
Happy to do so.
when it comes to environmental, especially issues that when it comes to the ocean and issues that when it comes to the ocean, I'm right there.
So go ahead. Why don't you go ahead, Mike, and get us kind of up to speed how you guys met and why she's here,
Right.
and then we'll let her take it from there.
Okay, well, she came to our Redlands for Progressive Change meeting last week and was telling us about this letter that they're drafting, and they're going to send it to the Congressional Delegation of California. So basically, all the members of the House of Representatives that are from here in California, as well as our two senators, Harris and Feinstein, and we are asking them to remove California from the list of states and areas that they are increasing offshore drilling. We want them basically to take California off and say no more offshore drilling. We don't want any more at all. We don't want any at all, but we don't want any. We don't want to increase it whatsoever. And so I was like, well, hey, you know what? As co-founder of Puncture Progress, we want to be signed on to that too. Please. So I asked her if she wanted to come on and talk to us and tell you and any of our listeners about this. So
Cool. So we should do that. So yeah, okay. So why don't you get us a little up to speed on kind of the background on what led to this letter being drafted in the first place, and a little bit of the organizing process that went into that, and then tell us all about the letter.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. So in our previous administration, there was the 5-year leasing program called the Outer Continental Shelf Oil and Gas Leasing. Back in 2016, they were planning what the leasing list was going to look like as far from 2017 to 2022, excuse me. And so a part of that leasing program, it was finalized in November of 2016. It had 11 potential sales areas that they were going to sell. One of them being the Gulf of Mexico, and the other being Alaska, called the Cook Inlet Program. Those were already going to be offered sales. No other areas were on the list. As soon as we get into our new administration in April of 2017, there was an executive order that was signed, and it was going to expand that list of areas up for sale. And a part of that list became California, a part of the Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. So from that became a huge outcry of, wait a minute, didn't we as Californians already do something about this, already put a stop to this, and what can we do on the state side to prevent this from going further, but ultimately removing California's name off of the list. We have had several different forms of support in regards to getting California off the list. There has been a Senate resolution in the California Senate 35, which was already signed by the governor, essentially prohibiting further gas and oil drilling off the coast of California, and that was already signed. We've recently in the legislature had Senate Bill 188 by Senator Hannah Beth Jackson, and that one again was prohibiting the expanded drilling off the shore of California. So you can already see that we've already had some support and some outcry in opposition to this. So we as an organization have decided that, we thank so much for our elected officials who have already, stepped forward and said something, but we decided how can we get more voice being heard, and what can we do as far as the community. So we have drafted a letter that essentially mimics the Senate resolution and Senate bill, saying that we oppose expanded offshore gas and oil drilling off of California, and to just remove us off of this list. Currently, Secretary of Interior Ryan Zinke has a review period in which he is looking at the pros and cons and outweighing the costs of having expanded drilling in these other areas. And so during this time, we're hoping that this letter will be sent to Ryan Zinke, to persuade him to take us off the list. And we're also getting support from community organizations. We're getting it from faith-based. We're also looking at privately owned businesses, chambers, anybody who's a Californian who cares about the coast, who cares about our marine life, and who cares about, the coastal economy. Again, California coastal economy brings in about $44.8 billion, and it employs over 400,000 Californians. There's so much that is at stake here, and we've seen so much disasters in regards to oil spill and damages. We've had it back in the 60s off the Huntington Beach at one point, and even more recently with the Exxon oil in the Gulf of Mexico. So
come on. I still get tar balls on my feet from Huntington Beach, okay? And there was just a spill, was it last year? Up in Santa Barbara, there was a leak.
Yeah, exactly. So these spills are occurring with just the few rigs that we have. I couldn't imagine having any more rigs and that causing even more damage. And the thing with these spills is that they're irreversible. You can't just suck up all the oil out of the ocean and be fine again. They're irreplaceable damage to the marine life and ecosystems here, and that's something we can't stand for, as it's going to affect us as, far as people who do like fishing industry or people who enjoy the seafood. We may not be able to have certain crab or lobsters now because of it. So we really want to just baby steps, just get us off the list. That will completely just alleviate the whole situation. So I had been going around and getting numerous groups to sign on, and I've been getting overwhelming support. I think we as Californians do our best to continue to protect our environment. And, we pride ourselves on California having such a range in geography, such a wide variety of that, and the reason why we have so much tourism this way as well. So I think it's, our job to protect it. But I think the more voices that we can represent and more voices that we can, people we can educate and get heard out there is what we're trying to push for. So we will be having actually in-district meetings with several of the Republican congressional members in hopes to sway them to sign on to this letter, and hopefully they can get other Republican members in both houses to, sign on and to also hopefully be an advocate. And we do, again, have the expansion, not in just California, but again, it's over in the Atlantic Ocean and in the Arctic area off of Alaska. So I'm sure if there's some kind of coalition building amongst members, that's something that we could definitely, push forward. So we're trying to get as many voices heard as possible for this.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, well, you mentioned earlier, this is something that we have already decided as a state that we're not going forward with and we're against, and it's like it was already kind of a done issue, and now you're saying they're trying to sort of reintroduce it. So I was hoping maybe you could kind of talk. I mean, I live in Nevada, so I'm not as super clear on, what California has already done in terms of offshore drilling, and Mike is probably more up to speed on it than I am. But what I'm getting at is it sounds like this new proposal that you're writing a letter against is in violation of already pre-standing laws. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. There is state law and then there's federal law. And so right now, California state law is prohibiting that expanded drilling. And we own so much of the ocean off the coast of California. I believe it's up to about 3 miles. So from there, the water becomes no man's land. And that is where federal law is taking over and wanting to expand more into our coast and put more rigs up in the areas that we already have some. So it essentially is, states' rights against the federal law. And we are seeing that possibly from what Attorney General Becerra may have stated, possibly filing, a lawsuit against government in regards to violating our rights as a state.
Well, Republicans yell state rights all the time. It's about time we did too.
Exactly.
Well, and sounds like an actual, legitimate, true states' rights issue, not just some, dog whistle for some racist garbage that the Republicans. So
Well, I read an article years ago I don't know if that long ago, but I read an article in Rolling Stone about how we auction off parcels of the ocean in the Gulf Coast to oil companies to drill on, and how that's like the biggest income that our government has, is auctioning off these parcels of ocean and stuff. Right. And so now they want to increase that. They want to go all the way up to the Arctic. I mean, how can you pull that off? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I can see it. I've heard of what is that? Cook's Corner? Cook's Inlet?
Yeah, Cook's Inland off of Alaska. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know that they have drilling up there, and you saw what happened in the Gulf Coast with the oil rig that blew up. I can't think of the name right offhand. That leaked in there for what, months?
right.
That's never good. It's like she said. It doesn't. It's completely damaged. There's no cleaning it up. You can't suck the oil up. You can't wash it out with Dawn. It doesn't go away. It's permanently damaged. So
Exactly. And there's, marine life that's at stake that will never come back. There's ecosystems that are destroyed from there. There's whole industries that rely on those fisheries and hatcheries to be there. And if you don't have them there, then, that's a whole economy, a whole town, a whole, city that may suffer from that, those economic impacts. So it really is, a full circle. It's not just people who directly live, on the coastal, but, people who live in inland parts of California still reap the benefits of the coastal economy that it brings to California as a state. So.
Well, and at a time when our oceans are finally coming back to health, we're seeing an increase in shark sightings, obviously, over this last summer.
That's very true.
And that's because our oceans are getting healthy again. That's why the sharks are back. They're preying on the juvenile fish and the stingrays. They're close to the shore, so.
Absolutely, and there was a lot of work that was done in the prior administrations that supported that to happen. So if we start going backwards, we're going to start seeing the damages of that. So
right. Well,
I should continue to protect.
We've seen how this administration now just loves to dismantle anything the previous administration did.
Yes.
So.
Well, that's what I would say is LaShe, I'm an anarchist, so I'm not generally too keen on the idea of like talking to politicians and trying to get them to do things for me. But this is still so important because one, let's say, I don't want to be, the big downer guy here, but I'm not confident that they're going to honor this letter. But I am so supportive that it should be sent to them and they should be confronted with it. So at the very, very, worst case scenario, we can say, look at what you didn't do. Look at your inaction. Look, it's this is a way of getting people again aware that each win against multinational corporations and the military industrial complex, all these different things, they're only temporary wins. They go back to work the next day. And this is proof of that California has won strides and has been able to put a halt on offshore drilling but they didn't go home and go, oh, well, we lost. Oh, well, California, I guess we can't ever do that. No, they just revamped their plans, went to work, put their billions of dollars behind it, and here they are. And of course, we have to say to them and to as many people as we can that this is just a massive travesty and an injustice. And it's a complete violation of what the people of California want, let alone the rest of the country and the planet that will ultimately be affected by the adverse effects of what they're doing, which has a repeated and unbroken history of spills and mistakes. There was another spill, and I was racking my brain while you were talking about it, but it was literally this week. And I want to say it was in South America, but there was a barge.
There was. I saw that, and I was just, it was horrible. Just looking at the oil just washing up on the beach.
And it's just spilling out. There's no cap on it. It's just every bit of oil that's in that tanker is gone. So this is a repeated. The Keystone Pipeline is leaking.
Yeah.
It's leaking. It's already leaking. So, I mean, this is going to do that. I guess that's kind of, again, I want to double down on being the downer, but this is going to have terrible effects on our environment. Allowing this to happen, it's not a will it, and it could and might, maybe. It will. We do
We've already seen it. We've already seen it happen.
Right. And so, you know, to be able to offer up a little bit of an extra boost to what you're doing is, for me, a privilege and an honor, because it's so important. And this is just another aspect of the full frontal assault of a fascist regime in power. And I'm again, an anarchist, and I believe in diversity of tactics. And that's why I support what you're doing and wanting to give voice to what you're doing, because you're on the forefront of yet another fight. We have so many of them. It's just a myriad of fights that we have to, you know, take on in 2017. You know, on the LGBTQ front, on the, you know, immigration front, you know, the issues with DACA, with the environment, you know, alt-right rising, health care, you know, all of this stuff. And so, you know, you're taking a lead, and your group is taking a lead on environment, and I appreciate that you're doing it. So I'm really honored to be able to support and endorse what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's the one thing I just enjoy doing, is not just focusing on the elected officials, but really getting that grassroots, really educating the community, really bringing it to their attention, and really showing that there's so much energy right now for so many people to do so much. So many people want to do action. So many people want to do something. So I like being able to not just educate, but give them an outlet to place that action and go, well, here's something you can sign on to, here's something you can support, and have your voice heard at a bigger level as well. So that's something I just appreciate.
And the environment is something we all need to care about, and I think the ocean is something that anybody in California should definitely care about.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I want to tell you, LaShe, that I'm not exactly sure which part of California you specifically are based in, and you don't have to tell us, but all throughout the nation, starting November 4th, there's a major call to take to the streets and stay in the streets until literally the entire regime and all of this is gone. Not impeachment, the whole thing. All of the, you know, just the racism and the institutional racism that's infested our prison system, that, you know, that allows these multinational corporations to exploit people and murder people all over the world. Like, we're going and we're getting in the streets. I just want to invite you and your group to join us and have a voice and tell us all about what you're doing there once we're there on November 4th. And because this is, you hopefully will be successful in this task by then. It's a couple months away, but I'm sure there will be other environmental issues that your group would be willing to address. And just find it. You'll see it starting November 4th. Get out there and you'll find them wherever city you're in. There's going to be a demonstration, and you and your group are definitely welcome to join us there.
Thank you so much. We look forward.
So yeah, just look at, actually, it's refusefascism.org that's making that call. So if our listeners or you yourself, LaShe, would like to look into them a little bit more, you can, and look into more on the November 4th call. But I really appreciate you coming on, LaShe. And if I would like to give you an opportunity that you would like to say about the letter, or just whatever, your group, or actually we need to know how to get a hold of you, don't we? Yes, you do. I actually have my email, which would probably be the best and fastest way to get a hold of me. It is L Rodriguez, that's RODRIGUEZ, at environmentcalifornia.org. You can send me an email for more information or a request to speak somewhere. I also have my cell phone number, and I'd be happy. That's 213-262-8798. Shoot me a text or give me a call, and I'm there to answer. I'm on it. Excellent. And then Environment California has a webpage too. Is it just environmentcalifornia.org? Yes, it is. And you can see all the numerous campaigns that we have going on. We have tons of sign-on letters on our website, as well as contact local elected officials in case you want to call in yourself and express your opinion. I mean, as many voices that we can get individually, or groups who want to call in and send a letter. Absolutely, we want to go ahead and encourage that. And we also have a physical sign-in letter that I love to share. It's at my email, or you can definitely give me a call and I can send it over. And do you have a place where different organizations or individuals can go and sort of officially endorse, add their names to the letter? Oh, absolutely. I'm actually on Facebook. It's just LaShe Rodriguez, and I'm public, so you just Google me, and you can definitely find it on there. I have it, an actual form on there for you. Excellent. Well, LaShe, I really, really appreciate you coming on. And listen, stay in contact with Redlands for Progressive Change and Mike over there my partner in Punks for Progress on any developments with this, and hopefully we can have you come on and celebrate your triumphant
that would be
defeat.
awesome.
Of
That would be ours. It's a group effort.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to get out the word.
Thanks,
No,
LaShe.
appreciate it. Thank you, LaShe. Find them at environmentcalifornia.org. And again, thank you so much for coming on.
All right, thank you.